G'day, welcome to the first video of the series in linear graphs. And linear graphs, super important topic in year 9 and 10 and 11. If you get these things right and you're really good at these, it will really help you in coming years. It's just so important. So let's get going. Firstly, I just want to talk about the Cartesian plane, and you should have already experienced this for several years, but I just want to quickly go over it. Cartesian plane. What is the Cartesian plane? The Cartesian plane shows a relationship between two variables. Most of the times it will be between x and y, looking at those. And we can plot points on the Cartesian plane, we can put lines and curves and different things to show different types of relationships. We always put them, whenever we've got a pair of points x and y, we can put those points onto the graph. So just a few examples. Let's put the point 2 and 6 on the thing. We'll do -3 and 1. Let's do 0 and -5. And one more, we'll do 6, 0. Okay? Let's just put those points on the plane. So let's do it first. 2, 6, that means the x value is 2, the y value is 6. Okay, so on the x, here's the x line here, and so we've got a value of 2. So where's 2 on this line? It's there. Then we go up and it's got a value of 6 for the y, so we go up 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That relates to that point there. That is 2, 6. Okay. Next one, it's got an x value of -3, so here, and a y value of 1. So that relates to that point there. -3, 1. That's him. Here, the x value is 0. In other words, it doesn't move anywhere, left or right. But then the y value is -5. So this point is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's that point down there. 0, -5. We'll just label it like that. And last one, it's got an x value of 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And a y value of 0. In other words, it doesn't go up and down, it just sits right there on the line. So that's 6, 0. So there are a couple of points. And just, no, I'll leave that for now. So Cartesian plane, there you go. Hopefully you're familiar with that. So now that I've sort of covered that, I want to talk about what linear graphs mean and what does it mean? Well, let's look at the word linear graphs. So the word that's inside of linear is line. What it is, it's a line graph. In other words, a straight line graph. So really important to understand that's the starting point for these. So what we're talking about is straight lines. In other words, that is not a linear graph. That is a linear graph. This is not a linear graph. Okay, so it must be a straight line. It doesn't matter whether it's vertical, whether it's horizontal, whether it's diagonal, in any direction. As long as it's straight, it's a linear graph. Okay, so really important to understand. Generally speaking, that comes in two forms. So I'll just write this down. Two forms that linear graphs come in. First one, and hopefully you recognize this equation, is y equals mx plus c. If there's an equation that looks like that between y and x, then it will be a straight line. Also, if you have something that looks like this, ax plus by equals c, something like that, then it will be a straight line. Just an example of that. So if y, I tried to change to red then, I always do this, there we go. If y is equal to -3x plus 7, something like that, you know that will be a straight line because it's of this form here. There's some number m in front of x, in this case it's -3, and there's some number c there, which is 7. Similarly, if you've got something like this, 3x minus 2y equals -1, something like that, that is of this second equation's form. Okay, there's some number in front of x, plus there's some number in front of y, in this case it's -2, is equal to some number, and that will also be a straight line because it's in this form here. So they're the two to watch out for. It looks like that, it's a straight line. If it looks like that, it's a straight line. Okay, good. So what I want to do now is talk about this guy here in particular, and I want to talk about m, which is gradient. So I'll just have to delete all this stuff because I haven't got, I need this, I want this graph to stop. Okay, so let's quickly talk about gradient. Once I've talked about that, then I'll go to the next video. I'll start sketching stuff. So let's talk about gradient. Now the gradient is also called the slope of a graph. Okay, so gradient or slope. What this means, it means how steep is the line. Now I'm just going to draw a couple on here. So again, I'm trying to draw green. So irritating. There we go. Let's go green. There's a green line. I'll do a red line, and let me just do a red line like that, and I'll do a blue line like this, and what colour? Maybe a pink or something like that. I'll do pink line going like that. Okay. Let's just have a look at these four and just talk about the gradient, the slope. Now, if you put yourself, if you're a little dude, okay, so little dude, put yourself on the line. If you walk from left to right on each of these graphs, I just want to think about what will happen to you. So let's start with purple, that horrible colour there. What will happen on here? If you're a little dude and you're walking from left to right, are you going uphill, are you going downhill, or are you just on the flat? In this case, if you're walking from left to right, you're just walking flat. And so here, m, which is the gradient, is equal to 0. There's no uphill, no downhill, it's just a 0, flat line. Okay, fantastic. Let's have a look at the blue line. If you're a little dude on the blue line and you're walking from left to right, what's happening there? Well, you're walking down very steep. So in that case, if you're walking downhill, you'll get a negative gradient. So m will be negative, and we call that a negative slope or a negative gradient. It's going downhill, and m will be quite big, so it will be negative and it will be quite big. Why is it big? Because it's steep. This is a steep line here, so it will be negative and it will be a big number. Okay, good. Let's have a look at green boy here. Green, pardon me. If you're some dude on the line, again walking from left to right. In this case, what's happening to you? Well, you're walking uphill, aren't you? So for the green, m, so I didn't introduce m, m is the gradient. That's our symbol that we represent the gradient or the slope by. M will be positive, we're going uphill, so m will be positive in this case. And because it's pretty big, I'll just write pretty big. It's not as big as the blue line, but it is pretty big, so it will be going up. It's pretty steep, and so that m will be a pretty big number. And I'll get to those in a second. Let's have a look finally at this horrible sort of reddy, purpley, browny colour. Not purple. Brain's not working very well. You're a dude and you're walking up this line. Is it positive or negative? He's walking uphill, and so m will be positive. It's going to be a positive gradient going uphill. And just having a look at this, will it be bigger than the green or not as big as the green? It won't be as big as the green. It's not as steep, and so that will be less than the green gradient. It's not as steep as that one. And we'll have a look at a couple of these things now. Now we're going to talk about still on gradient, and we represent that by m. The way we show the gradient is this. There's two ways to find out what the gradient of a particular line is. Firstly, there's the rise over the run. In fact, you know what? I'm going to do this in the next video. I'm going to look at gradient in the next video. I'll stop it there.